Today we're going to paint a field of poppies. We're going to start by looking at this photograph of a poppy. This is a close-up photograph, so you can see in detail what the poppy looks like at the delicate petals that it has and the dark coloured centre. This is a painting by an artist called Georgia O'Keeffe of a red poppy, and she's made it extend beyond the paper. She's gone really close in and made it as big as she can, and look how she's created this very velvety centre in the poppy, which is very much like the one in the photograph. This is a photograph of a field of poppies, and can you see how the poppies at the front of the field are much bigger than the poppies at the back? Well, the poppies at the front are not really bigger than the poppies at the back, they're the same size. It's just that as things get further away they look smaller, and we're going to think about doing that when we paint our poppy field today. And here's an couple of examples of children's work painting fields of poppies. There's one and there's another. And can you see how the children have made the poppies at the front of their picture really big, and then they get smaller as they go back? And the same with this one. In fact, this one has come right off the edge of the paper, like the Georgia O'Keeffe one, as if the person that's painted it is lying down and looking into the field. So we're going to have a go at doing something like that. We start off by drawing our poppies. So we talked about the ones at the front being the bigger. This is called the foreground. The front of your picture is the foreground, and that's the part that you would see first. So to draw a poppy outline using a red pastel, you don't need to do a circle, you don't even need to be good at drawing, you just do a wibbly line like that. It's an organic shape. The shape of the poppy is organic and it's just wibbly wobbly. And you can do that, and then maybe another one here fits in, and a third one over here. And this one might go off the edge of the paper. You can do yours however you want. So that's the foreground, and then the middle ground, the poppies look a little bit further away. So we make these ones a bit smaller. And again, more wibbly wobbly lines. And then we need to think about where our horizon is going to be. Now, the horizon is the point at which the sky meets the land. So if you want your poppy field to have lots of land and very little sky, like this photograph here, look, there's only a little bit of sky there and lots of land. Or this one as well, again, a little bit of sky, a lot of land, then you need to put your horizon up here. If you want your poppy picture to have more sky and less land, then you can put your horizon a little bit further down. I think I'm going to put mine about here. So I'm just going to use a ruler to draw a line lightly across to mark my horizon line. Okay. And then I'm going to continue to put more poppies in. And in the background of the picture, the poppies are even smaller because they're further away. So they diminish in size as they go from front to back. And if we were going to go any further back, like if we wanted to have a few that were actually pointing into the sky slightly, they would really only be sort of red dots because they're that far away. So we can do that in a minute. So these are my furthest away poppies. The other thing I might want to do is to put some clouds in the sky to make it look interesting, so I'll use a white oil pastel. So I don't want to do like fluffy clouds, I'm just going to do kind of hard to see the white oil pastel on the white paper, but just a few simple lines that would look a bit like clouds. And then when we paint over later with blue watercolour, they will resist the paint. So now that I've got my poppies drawn, I'm going to use acrylic paint to paint them. I've got 2 shades of red and I've got black as well in the middle. So I'm using 2 shades of red because if you look at the photographs of the poppy, you can see it's got dark bits and light bits in, so I want to try and incorporate that within the painting. So I'll start painting with maybe this vermilion colour, which is a sort of orangey red. And I want the poppies to stand out, so I'm thinking about maybe the way Van Gogh painted and creating definite brush strokes and making the paint quite thick to get that interesting effect. And then I'm going to get some of the darker pink, a darker crimson, and put that in as well and work on that. I need a little water. And just keep on building the colours but putting them on quite thickly. I'm going to carry on doing this, but I'll put you on fast forward while I do it. Now I've painted the poppies, the next thing that I'm going to do is to use liquid watercolours to paint the sky. I've cleaned my brush really well and I'm going to paint the sky up to the horizon line that we drew earlier. So, taking care. Of course, the poppies that I drew on with the oil pastels are resisting the liquid watercolours and showing through, so that's fine. So they're just kind of up in the sky. Let's get a bigger brush. Oh, that's the biggest brush I've got, sorry. Let's take a little while. Where I put the white oil pastel on, it's making interesting clouds. Again, I'll put you on fast forward for this because it'll take a while. So the last thing that I'm going to do for the first session is to paint the black in the middle of the poppy. So the red isn't quite dry, but it doesn't matter, it'll still be fine. Hope. I'm going to try it anyway. So obviously the ones in the front, because they're bigger, the black circle in the middle will be a little bit bigger. See, the thing is, I don't want the circle to be completely black because it's kind of a purpley colour. If we look here, look at the photograph, kind of purpley. So by putting the black on when the red's still wet, so you're mixing a little bit of the red in with it, it makes the black not quite so harsh. So that's that one. So I'll carry on with this on fast forward. So now that the paint has dried, I'm going to start to add some background into the field. So if you look at this picture here done by the children, you can see there's lots of green lines here, and that's from green oil pastel. There's also some extra yellow flowers and some little white flowers that we can do with oil pastel as well. So I've got 2 shades of green oil pastel, and we're just going to start by just doing maybe some stalks onto the poppy. And then we can go ahead and fill in extra bits in between, so I'll put you on fast forward for that. So now I've drawn the oil pastel lines, I'm ready to start painting the green. So I've mixed up 4 different shades of liquid watercolour green because I don't want all the green to look the same. And I'm just going to start painting in the different colours. Filling up the gaps. I need to be careful as I go around my poppies. I don't go over the red. Other than that, it's fine. So I've painted all the green around my poppies, and you can see I did go over the edge in a few places, but actually it doesn't matter. It just looks like the poppy's a little bit darker at the edge. It doesn't have any effect. So the last thing, if you wanted to do it, this is just an optional thing. If you look at the children's work that we did before, they've put some little dots inside the black circles. The poppy itself on the photograph looks a bit like this. So you could think about maybe putting some purple or some pink dots in there. That's up to you. But if you wanted to, it would be just a matter of just putting some little dots in like that. I'm working on that. The reason that we painted the blue watercolour sky last time and the green this time is so that we didn't have wet watercolour next to wet watercolour, because otherwise it would have spread. But because this blue was dry, this green has not run into it and it stayed, you know, looking good. So that's your poppy picture. As I said, if you want to carry on and add a few more little lines in, that's up to you. Okay.